let's unpack this. We've been handed a stack of sources detailing a world where, apocalyptic monsters are just another Tuesday.
Right.
And the true hero isn't some celebrated super soldier, but a 32-year-old man whose biggest accomplishment is literally sweeping up monster guts.
It's the ultimate subversion of the monster genre, and that's what makes this material so compelling. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the source material covering the action horror drama of Kaiju number 8.
Yeah.
And the initial emotional impression this world gives us is just this intense dread. I mean, you have gigantic world-ending threats.
But it's mixed with this surprisingly high level of, workplace apathy?
Yeah.
Bureaucratic routine?
Exactly. It's a strange combination.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to synthesize this comprehensive look at the atmosphere, the core conflicts, the character arcs, and of course the escalating stakes. We're going to unpack in detail how a story rooted in failure and resignation transforms into an epic high-stakes battle for humanity.
And more importantly, a deeply psychological battle for one man's identity.
Right. The central paradox for you, the listener, to keep in mind is this. What happens when the world's greatest threat becomes the person who is responsible for cleaning up the pieces?
So we have to begin with the setting, because it really dictates the psychological landscape of the entire narrative.
It does.
The sources paint this picture of Tokyo under massive, constant threat. Kaiju attacks are routine, they're destructive, yet the response from the general populace isn't one of constant panic.
No, it's this bizarre, detached normalcy. That normalization is fascinating. It sets the tone immediately. The sources note that citizens react with this, relative calm, almost a blasé exhaustion.
They've seen it all.
They've seen it all. They're even betting on how long the Defense Force, the DF, will take to win the current fight. This casual acceptance of mass destruction is the high baseline from which the narrative has to constantly escalate.
It really does. It requires the threats to get smarter, not just bigger, to maintain any kind of tension. And leading the defense are the DF soldiers. They are the celebrity class, the military organization dedicated to eradication. The captains, like Mina Ashiro, are regarded as almost superhuman figures.
Icons.
They embody perfection and power.
But to truly understand the emotional core of this story, we have to look away from the celebrity fighters and really zero in on the people at the very bottom of the food chain. The unsung heroes, or maybe the anti-heroes.
The monster cleanup crew.
Yeah.
This is where we introduce Kafka Hibino. He's 32, and his job is it's existential humiliation. He works for the cleanup crew, whose role is literally the second worst thing after stealing from orphans.
Which is just an incredible line. Tells you this isn't just unpleasant, it's horrific.
It is.
The sources go into detail here, and it's truly grotesque. Kafka's job requires this proximity to the horror without any of the glory. He's often cleaning out kaiju stomachs that contain this terrible biological slurry.
Human remains, shredded cars, pieces of destroyed buildings.
Right, all mixed together and decaying. One of his colleagues even mentions that if you offered him a choice between cleaning out a flooded sewer and a kaiju stomach, he'd choose the sewer without hesitation.
And that's where Kafka lives.
That's his reality. He has resigned himself to this unpleasant existence, viewing himself as this necessary cog in the system, even if he carries the self-contempt of a failed dream.
And his current reality is a constant physical reminder of his failure to achieve his potential.
We also need to get into the basic technical infrastructure here, the stuff that lets the DF fight these behemoths. The kaiju themselves, they're classified, right?
They are. You have the Yoju, which are the common, weaker ones. Then the Hanju, which are stronger, more organized threats.
And then the big ones.
And then the named Kaiju, the biggest threats, designated by numbers, like the one Kafka becomes.
And the human defense relies on bioweaponry. It's not standard tanks or missiles.
No, primarily they utilize these specialized battle suits constructed from kaiju tissue itself. This is a critical piece of lore. These suits amplify the wearer's strength, speed, and durability, but they are limited by the wearer's compatibility rate.
Compatibility rate. It's the mathematical framing of potential And it is a fascinating metric.
It is?
It's a direct measure of the wearer's inherent biological, or I guess spiritual connection to the kaiju tissue. A high rate means you can draw exponentially more power from the suit.
So it's not just about training.
No, it's about being born with the potential to be a killer. This sets the stage for a conflict where Kafka, the failure, has a 0% compatibility score.
It's the scientific layer that dictates societal status in this world. Those with high compatibility rates are destined for glory.
Us without.
They're destined for the cleanup crew.
Moving to the main characters, we see this contrast between innate talent and wasted potential play out immediately. Right away, with Mina Ashiro and Kafka Hibino.
Mina Ashiro is the absolute success story. She is Kafka's childhood friend and rival, and unlike him, she fulfilled their joint dream.
Big time.
At only 27, she's the captain of the 3rd Division, having single-handedly eliminated hundreds of kaiju. Her power is often depicted as just overwhelming and casual, a symbol of effortless excellence.
She represents the glowing public fulfillment of everything Kafka failed to become, a constant painful reminder of his lost potential.
And then there is Kafka Hibino, the failure.
Yeah.
The sources make it so clear he tried repeatedly to join the DF, but failed the entrance exam due to physical weakness, and eventually he just gave up, resigned himself to cleaning entrails.
And his entire motivation is rooted in this childhood promise to Mina.
That they would both join the defense force and fight together.
Side by side. The emotional core of Kafka is self-contempt, it's depression, and a rationalized resignation. He tells himself his job is important, that he's contributing.
He's trying to make the best of a deeply disappointing life.
Exactly. But he is internally decaying. His life is stagnant, his dreams are dead. And the narrative needed a sharp jolt.
Which comes in the form of Reno Ichikawa, the catalyst.
Right. Reno is a new, brutally determined 18-year-old recruit to the cleanup crew. He joins the crew explicitly as a pit stop before his own entry into the TF.
He doesn't see Kafka as a grizzled veteran, he sees him as a cautionary tale.
And he's not subtle about it. He directly challenges Kafka's defeatist attitude, stating point blank that he would rather die than give up his dream.
And that idealism is just a sharp, painful mirror for Kafka. Reno accuses him of abandoning Mina and their shared past. It's that gut punch realization when someone younger sees exactly the lie you've been telling yourself.
Oh, yeah. And Kafka's immediate angry reaction, thinking, what's wrong with giving up? You'll grow up and realize life isn't easy. It just confirms his deep-seated cynicism.
But Reno's absolute rejection of that cynicism acts like a psychological catalyst. It forces Kafka to finally confront his surrender.
So this whole dynamic, it sets the stage for Kafka's second chance. Following Reno's arrival, Kafka secretly enjoys watching Reno struggle with the sheer filth of the job.
It's a brief, pathetic moment of validation for him.
It really is. But then, the real trigger arrives.
Reno reveals that the DF entrance age limit has suddenly been raised to 33. This gives Kafka one last desperate window to apply before he officially ages out.
And that's the moment. That's the moment Kafka decides he has to stop running, stop lying to himself, and honor that old promise to Mina.
He makes the choice to apply again.
But fate intervenes almost immediately. A small, spider-like kaiju attacks Kafka and Reno while they're cleaning up late one night.
And Kafka, driven by this renewed sense of purpose and that deep-seated protective instinct he thought he'd lost, he sacrifices himself to shield Reno.
He tells him to run, to call the DF. He is choosing to act like a soldier, even in his dirty uniform.
The initial conflict ends quickly with Mina's arrival. She vaporizes the kaiju effortlessly. So Kafka is hospitalized, physically safe, and emotionally remotivated to pursue his dream.
But then comes the pivotal narrative twist. The moment that permanently shifts the character and the entire genre.
As Kafka sleeps, a strange, parasitic, worm-like kaiju silently enters his body through his mouth.
That transformation is just pure body horror. It's invasive, non-consensual.
And the reveal is terrifying and instantaneous. Kafka wakes up not as himself, but transformed into a massive, blue-skinned, incredibly powerful kaiju.
The immediate horror on Reno's face, who is recovering in the next bed, is the first indication of Kafka's central, impossible conflict.
He finally has the power to achieve his promise to Mina.
But he is now the very thing he swore to destroy. He's a monster trying to join the monster hunters.
It's such a brilliant device. The internal monster that Kafka spent his life fighting, his failure, his fear, his lack of potential, is suddenly externalized, weaponized, and literally living inside him.
He's forced into the ultimate identity crisis.
Yeah.
Man or monster.
So the rising action begins immediately with Kafka's panicked realization of his raw, terrifying power.
Which he cannot control at all.
Not at all. The sources detail the initial chaos. He accidentally destroys a hospital wall just by flexing.
Terrifies an old man nearby. And in a moment that just highlights the grotesque new reality, he briefly loses control and eats a bird while trying to escape.
It's so jarring. And Reno, who's pragmatic and terrified, just urges Kafka to escape before the DF arrives and turns him into minced meat and, a statistical report.
So while he's fleeing, Kafka still retains that core human instinct, and his cleanup knowledge serves him unexpectedly.
Right, he senses a new kaiju approaching underground, a precursor to a larger attack. The DF splits its forces to handle this emerging subterranean threat, and that gives Kafka a crucial window to escape detection.
But the turning point for Kafka's identity, it happens right here. While he's still partially transformed, Kafka witnesses a young girl and her injured mother trapped by this new kaiju.
Instead of fleeing, he acts.
Yeah, he's driven by his instinct to protect a human trait, and he intervenes, annihilating the monster with a single devastating punch.
And that single blow is the first true measure of Kaiju No 8's power. It's overwhelming, instantaneous, and far beyond anything a normal DF soldier could ever achieve.
And this act immediately complicates the entire DF structure.
Absolutely. The little girl, rescued, tells Mina, who has just arrived on the scene, that the kind kaiju saved them.
Which has to be the first official report of a benevolent kaiju. It utterly confuses Mina and the DF, setting up the mystery of Kaiju number 8.
So Kafka gains control, reverts, and makes a crucial decision. He resolves to use this monstrous strength only to join the DF and honor his promise without ever relying on the transformation again.
He believes he can use the power while proving his humanity. He thinks he can have it both ways.
He realizes he possesses the strongest weapon on the planet, but his goal is still a human one, to stand beside Mina as an equal. The narrative then shifts to the formal path he must navigate, the entrance exam, where suspicion and scrutiny are inevitable.
3 months later, Kafka and Reno pass the written test and arrive at the DF headquarters for the physical and practical exams. And this immediately introduces the overwhelming nature of the competition.
And we are immediately introduced to the antithesis of Kafka, Kikoru Shinomiya. She is the prodigy. Only 16, graduated at the top of her class in the US, and is the daughter of Isao Shinomiya, the DF Director General. She represents the relentless pressure of inherited destiny and flawless execution.
Her introduction is brilliant because it establishes her dominance instantly. She effortlessly moves Kafka's large company car, which he foolishly parked in her spot with one hand.
Just demonstrating raw, inhuman strength. More importantly, she immediately smells the faint scent of kaiju on him and challenges him directly, calling him old man.
She just knows something is off.
Her inherent potential is immediately quantified by the technical lore. Her compatibility rate with the battlesuit is a staggering 46%.
46%. To put that in perspective for you, the sources show that the typical limit for standard DS soldiers is around 20%.
She is a biological weapon tailored for this conflict. This high score deepens the immediate thematic conflict between Kafka, the failure, and Kikoru, the golden prodigy.
Unsurprisingly, Kafka performs terribly in the physical test. He finishes 219th out of 225 candidates.
Without his kaiju power, he is too old and too weak. He confronts the painful reality that his human body simply cannot keep up.
Reno, still determined, predicts the practical test will be predictable, maybe kaiju disposal, so they can use their hard-won cleanup knowledge.
But the DF, specifically Vice Captain Soshiro Hoshina, changes the parameters instantly. He anticipates the intelligence of named kaiju. The test is suddenly switched to active kaiju combat.
Pressure is on.
This shift immediately puts the focus back on the mathematical measure of worth. The compatibility score is displayed by their battle suits. Reno registers a modest 8%.
Which is pretty good for a rookie.
It is. Kikoru remains the best candidate at 46%.
And then there's Kafka.
And here's the absurdity of Kafka's dilemma quantified perfectly. He registers a 0% compatibility score.
A 0. Hoshina, the veteran examiner, notes he has never even seen a non-zero score before. Kafka is, by all statistical metrics, incapable of being a DF soldier.
Kikoru, sensing his frustration and the immense energy he is clearly trying to suppress, she goads him. She knows he's hiding something, but she can't quantify it with the suit's readings.
The irony is just so thick. Kafka's failure, his cleanup job, is the only thing that saves him.
Right. Vice Captain Hoshina, a master swordsman and the division's second in command, he's
the chance to finally stand beside Mina as a human and saving the life of his rival.
And the choice is driven by Kikoru's psychological trauma. She aims for perfection and cannot tolerate failure. She's mentally recalling her demanding father, director Isao Shinomiya, who expects nothing less than flawless excellence.
Seeing herself incapacitated and broken, she is briefly psychologically defeated.
And seeing Kikoru in mortal danger, knowing Hoshina and Mina are too far away to intervene quickly, Kafka makes the definitive, dream-ending choice.
He
transforms entirely into Kaiju number 8. He doesn't hesitate. He uses sheer brute force, completely vaporizing the Hanju and then engaging number 9.
The clash is short but devastating. 8's power is just overwhelming, forcing the highly intelligent Kaiju number 9 to retreat.
The sources confirm the impact of this brief fight. Kaiju No 9 instantly recognizes Kaiju No 8's immense, unprecedented strength, estimating its defense level at 9.8.
9.8. This is confirmed as the strongest defense rating on record. It makes Kafka the single most dangerous creature known to humanity.
And 9 views now 8, not as an ally, but as the ultimate rival, the greatest target to be understood or assimilated. The internal conflict is now registered on the global threat scale.
So this is the moment Kafka accepts his monstrous identity to save his human future.
It is, and the immediate aftermath requires a desperate, messy cover-up. Kafka reverts to human form, though the transition is imperfect. He loses his uniform, and notably, his teeth are slow to return.
A small but horrifying detail.
It is. He forces Reno and Kikoru, once she recovers and realizes the impossible truth, to cover for him.
And Kikoru, seeing Kafka risk everything to save her and the other soldiers, she reluctantly promises not to reveal his secret. However, her devotion to duty remains paramount.
She warns him directly. She says she will kill him herself if he ever deviates from his human morality or threatens humanity.
So Kafka is now operating under this silent shared secret. He has gained a reluctant ally in the DF, but that ally also acts as his failsafe.
Which creates immense tension. His continued existence is conditional upon his unwavering moral compass.
Despite the near disaster and his 0% score, Kafka's strategic knowledge during the exam leads to an unexpected promotion. He's promoted from trainee to trooper.
All thanks to Hoshina's recommendation.
Right, but Hoshina is not recommending Kafka out of pity. He's recommending him because of his contribution, specifically identifying the hidden core of the Hanju and the crucial need to destroy the Kaiju's reproductive organs after death.
To prevent resurrection or spawning. This specialized knowledge, again gained from the cleanup crew, it validates Kafka's role, but also cements Hoshina's suspicion that Kafka is more than he seems.
The cat-mouse game intensifies. Kafka discovers Hoshina practicing alone, reliving their encounter, honing his sword techniques specifically to counter an opponent with number 8's characteristics.
And Hoshina reveals the extent of his commitment to preparedness and vigilance. He states clearly that he would have killed number 8 during their brief clash if he had used his highest level techniques.
He notes he could use 92% of his 92% compatibility strength.
Yeah, Hoshina is a razor-sharp tactical mind aware that the biggest threat might be right under his nose. Kafka is now living under the watchful professional eye of a master combatant.
Kafka's motivation hardens here. His continued existence in the DF isn't just about fulfilling his promise to Mina. It is about proving his humanity every single day under Hoshina's crushing scrutiny.
He's trying to earn a right to exist, not just a job title. So the DF soon launches a first major operation designed to eliminate a massive threat. Mina leads the primary strike to destroy a 150-meter-tall kaiju core.
While Hoshina leads the rookies, Reno, Kikoru, Kafka, and the others, in eliminating the smaller spawned Yoju.
And the operation serves to reaffirm Mina's status as the absolute pillar of the DF. She demonstrates her immense power, hitting 96% compatibility and destroying the main kaiju with just 3 massive focused shots.
She is the gold standard of raw, controlled power, an absolute force of nature.
Meanwhile, Kafka is applying his knowledge in the field. He guides the rookie squads to target the weakened backs and locate those hidden reproductive sacs in the dead kaiju.
And it's an overwhelming success for the Defense Force's tactical cleanup.
But this tactical victory is immediately compromised by Kaiju Number 9's insidious plan. While Kafka is coordinating with the rookies, Kaiju Number 9 appears, masterfully disguised as a human cleanup crew member.
This is one of the most terrifying reveals in the sources. The threat isn't a giant monster crashing through a wall. It's an intelligent, shape-shifting entity capable of infiltration.
And it appears near Reno and his partner Haru, casually revealing that it intentionally planted those reproductive sacs and rigged the communication to isolate the area.
Its goal, to take a human sample, Haru, for study, revealing a predatory scientific interest in humanity.
The horror is that Kaiju No 9 is adopting the guise of Kafka's old life. The man who was a failure is now confronted by a perfect, intelligent enemy wearing his old uniform.
This forces Reno to step up, solidifying his transformation from determined trainee to true soldier.
Right. Recalling Kikoru's advice about predicting Number 9's unique finger gun attack, which seems to materialize devastating projectiles from nowhere, Reno manages to hold off the kaiju just long enough for Haru to escape and alert the DF.
He's severely injured, but his courage and commitment are undeniable.
Reno's action is pivotal. He not only saved his teammate, but crucially, relayed vital, detailed information about Number 9's new, intelligent capabilities, making him an invaluable soldier.
And forcing the DF to confront the reality that their enemy is now capable of highly sophisticated espionage.
So the narrative tension just peaks with the second major attack. This is a calculated strike orchestrated by Kaiju Number 9 directly on the 3rd Division headquarters.
This is no random clash, it's a targeted strategic move. The new threat is designed to overwhelm the DF where they feel safest.
Kaiju Number 9, now with amplified strength and using its acquired knowledge, coordinates a devastating aerial attack using highly durable Pterosaurus kaiju.
Noted for their 6.3 plus durability level. This puts immense pressure on the base defenses and personnel.
Vice Captain Hoshina immediately engages Number 9 again. Even his masterful blade can no longer pierce the armor, and his stamina, pushed to its limit, begins to fail.
His skill is immense, but against a Nomine named Kaiju with such overwhelming adaptive defense, brute force is required.
Which sets the stage for Kikoru's dramatic return and her demonstration of rapid development. She arrives wielding a massive anti-kaiju battle axe, constructed from the tissue of Kaiju Number 4, specifically engineered for her immense strength.
She fully embodies her role as a key pillar of the Defense Force, successfully coordinating with the injured Hoshina. Her brute strength, combined with Hoshina's tactical opening, allows her to smash and break the massive Kaiju's knee.
And that buys crucial time for Mina's final arrival.
Mina returns to put the final decisive stamp on the enemy. Using 96% of her maximum power, she obliterates the massive kaiju, demonstrating why she's the strongest.
She reinforces that hierarchy of power in the DF.
But the moment of victory is immediately shattered. The defeated kaiju, in a final act of malice, releases a massive sphere composed of Pterosaurus corpses.
A powerful suicide bomb designed to level the entire base and everyone in it, effectively achieving Number 9's goal of destroying the DF headquarters.
This is the ultimate narrative crucible. With Hoshina and Mina momentarily defeated, exhausted, and the base doomed, Kafka has to make a choice.
A choice that will not only save humanity, but permanently end his dream of normalcy. He knows this choice means exposure and certain capture, or worse.
The emotional weight is crushing. He apologizes silently to Reno, fully transforms into Kaiju number 8, and launches himself at the sphere.
His 9.8 defense level and brute force punch shatters the sphere, diverting the blast away from the HQ, saving hundreds of lives.
But in doing so, he exposes himself completely. The transformation is witnessed by Mina and the entire DF command.
The act of pure, selfless sacrifice defines his humanity, even in his monstrous form. He is unambiguously the savior.
Yet Mina's response is the definition of tragic conflict.
Yeah.
She's visibly conflicted. This is her oldest friend, the man who just saved her life. But she is bound entirely by her duty as a captain of the defense force.
She raises her gun.
She raises her gun and orders Kafka to surrender. The system demands that the monster be contained or destroyed, regardless of its actions.
And at this pivotal moment, Hoshina has his final, vital realization. He had always suspected number 8 was a threat, but he now realizes his mistake.
He assumed the threat level of number 8 based on Kaiju logic.
Exactly. Destructive, selfish, and predatory. He now understands that number 8's consistent reluctance to kill, its focus on defense, and its ultimate sacrifice confirms his inherent human morality.
The greatest threat has officially revealed itself to be the greatest protector.
Following the exposure, Kafka is taken into custody, leading to a high-stakes DF command meeting. This involves the highest echelons of command, including Kikoru's father, Director Iza Shinomiya.
And the debate over Kafka's fate is critical to the series' exploration of morality and military pragmatism.
The options are grim, and the ethical dilemma is brutal. Immediate execution is on the table, as is the terrifying prospect of using him as a biological weapon.
I mean, he is, statistically, the strongest kaiju in recorded history. Number 8. The command can't afford to simply waste that power, but the question remains, can they truly trust the monster?
And Shinomiya, who's presented as rigid and skeptical, believes kaiju are inherently destructive and cannot possess human will. So he decides to test Kafka personally.
He attacks him with the weaponized tissue of Kaiju No. 2, pushing Kafka past his limits and forcing a transformation.
Shinomiya's test is designed to shatter Kafka's control, and Kafka initially loses control to Kaiju No. 8's aggressive, primal instincts. For a terrifying moment, Shinomiya's worst fears are confirmed.
The monster is winning.
Right, but Kafka's anchor remains his human relationships. Kikoru's emotional plea, combined with his memory of Mina and his lifelong promise, gives him the strength to override the parasitic kaiju's will.
And in a definitive moment of self-actualization, he shouts, "My name is Kafka, not Kaiju No 8.
Proving that his human identity and will remain intact and dominant over the monstrous power.
This declaration secures his immediate survival. Mina, Hoshina, and Reno submitted comprehensive evidence proving Kafka's actions were always protective of humans and DF soldiers.
They commit to waiting for his return and vouch for his character, transforming Kafka's dangerous secret from a burden into a shared mission for the division.
So the resolution establishes Kafka's new, incredibly complicated status. Director Shinomiya rules that Kafka will not be executed or used as a disposable weapon, but he will not be released either.
He will be held, trained, and observed under extremely strict Defense Force protocol.
So his humanity is accepted.
Newly emerging number 10, he is now the Defense Force's most valuable and most precarious asset.
Meanwhile, the rest of the rookie team undergoes significant accelerated transformation. The DF understands that the emerging threat of intelligent named Kaiju requires a deeper bench of talent.
Reno, Haru, Kagura, and Kikoru are transferred to a combined high-intensity training program to rapidly increase their strength.
And Reno's strength, a testament to his determination, increases significantly to 18% compatibility. This signals that hard work and courage are translating into true combat effectiveness.
And Kikoru, now humbled by her near-death experience, shifts her focus from pure perfection to practical protection, embracing her role in the team rather than relying solely on individual excellence.
But the sources provide the necessary future threat to keep the tension high. Kaiju number 9, still alive and disguised, continues his work.
In a chilling return to Kafka's original context, Number 9 is shown infiltrating the DF cleanup crew again, seeking ways to counter Kaiju Number 8.
And the emergence of Kaiju Number 10, another equally dangerous, named Kaiju, ensures that the stakes will continue to rise dramatically. The story has transitioned from a personal identity crisis into a full-scale, intelligent Kaiju war,
where the enemy can look exactly like a friend.
So let's synthesize the overall intellectual and emotional impact this story has on you, the listener. The sources highlight powerful, resonant themes. We've seen a deep exploration of identity.
Right, Kafka wrestling with man versus monster, refusing to be defined by his power.
And the core theme of second chances is just central. Kafka finally achieves his dream late in life, but only through the very power he spent his life creating to legally obtain. The irony is overwhelming.
And fundamentally, it challenges our perception of strength and morality. The series completely subverts the typical monster narrative by making the hero the monster. It forces you to question the DF's duty to kill versus Kafka's unyielding instinct to protect.
We see that true strength isn't just raw, high-percentage power, like Mina or Kikoro. It's knowledge, experience.
Kafka's cleanup expertise gave him strategic depth.
And the unwavering human will demonstrated in his self-declaration. What stands out to me is the psychological depth. This story resonates because it tackles the fear of feeling useless, the fear that you're too old or too weak to achieve your dream, and finds immense power in embracing who you are.
Even when that who you are is the thing everyone is trained to destroy.
Exactly. Kafka's journey is one of self-acceptance, realizing that his years of perceived failure actually equipped him with unique knowledge to succeed.
The emotional weight of the conclusion lies in the inherent conflict that remains unresolved. Kafka is saved, but he is now a weapon under lock and key. The Defense Force is committed to using him, but they also fear him, particularly since his existence is an anomaly that defies their core scientific and military logic.
That sets up a truly provocative final thought for you, the listener, to consider. Despite Kafka being captured and imprisoned, his final declaration that he is not the enemy was heard and accepted by a few key members of the command structure. But how long can the Defense Force successfully utilize a living, sentient weapon before the lines between friend and foe are permanently erased, both internally for the DF and externally?
And, perhaps more chillingly, Kaiju Number 9, the intelligent rival, views Number 8 as the strongest of their kind. Number 9 will inevitably come back to retrieve his brother, Kaiju Number 8. When that happens, Kafka will be faced with a choice. Loyalty to the humans who cage him, or acknowledgement of the powerful kinship offered by the monster who sees him as family. That is the internal tension that defines the path ahead.
A deeply complex story rooted in something as simple as wanting to keep a childhood promise. That's a wrap on our deep dive into Kaiju Number 8. Thank you for joining us on this extensive exploration of power, identity, and monstrous ambition.
We hope this provided you with a thorough understanding of the unique conflicts and compelling character journeys that elevate this narrative far beyond a simple monster action story.
Until the next deep dive, stay well informed.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping into the battle suits and going headfirst into a conflict that has just been completely redefined.
Absolutely.
We are talking high stakes, elite forces, and an enemy that isn't just massive. It's adaptive, intelligent, and it knows exactly where humanity keeps its biggest secrets and its most powerful weapons.
We've synthesized a deep stack of sources today, and they all detail the immediate fallout of a truly traumatic and dramatic kaiju attack.
Yeah.
Our analysis is going to focus intensely on the fate of Kafka Hibino, now publicly known as Kaiju 8, and also the internal structure of the Defense Force, specifically how Division 1 operates at the absolute apex of human capability.
Our mission today is to really unpack the chaos that follows. We're not just looking at the destruction, but the strategic decision-making in the face of, well, an existential threat. The central insight we are chasing is this. How does the Defense Force reorganize, rearm, and maintain control when your strongest asset is all previous Kaiju 10 attack, which left the Division 3 headquarters in well, in ruins.
It's a complete mess.
Yeah.
But the most critical damage isn't physical, it's psychological. Specifically for Kafka.
Right. That's where we have to start.
His internal state is just profoundly fragile. It's highly volatile. He has spent 5 days held in a restricted military facility after that catastrophic incident.
5 days of just stewing in that fear.
And the sources describe him waking up from these terrible recurring nightmares. He's fully transformed, not just as Kaiju 8, but as this gigantic, unrestrained, Godzilla-like figure.
Oh, wow.
He's firing massive laser beams, causing unimaginable destruction across the city. And the real horror for him isn't just the destruction. It's that in the nightmare, he is watching Mina, his captain, ordering her troops to fire on him to stop the rampage.
So he's not just wrestling with the fact that he is a kaiju,
Yeah.
he's wrestling with the terror that he could lose control and become the single greatest threat to the very people he swore to protect.
Exactly. That realization that he is now a primary, self-aware kaiju target is paralyzing him. It fundamentally warps his will to transform, and it creates this huge psychological barrier to using his power.
And the reality he wakes up to is, it's just a high security version of that same chaos, right?
It is. He knows he's been held captive for 5 days under high-threat conditions. Captain Mina confirms that the command structure ultimately canceled his execution, which is a major relief.
A huge relief.
But the damage to their base is so extensive that it requires long-term systemic repair. So this physical destruction forces the command structure into an immediate, high-stakes personnel reallocation.
You can't just put the war on pause for construction, after all. So the recruits, Reno, Furuhashi, and Kikoru, they're all immediately moved to new divisions.
And for Reno, this isn't just some temporary move, it's a mission.
He's very clear about it.
He is. What's crucial here is his focus motivation. He tells Furuhashi explicitly that his immediate goal is to get stronger, exponentially stronger, so he can better help Kafka.
Right.
Kafka remains his absolute priority. He recognizes that the human side of the defense force needs someone strong and loyal, protecting its most volatile asset. It's a proactive, self-assigned role he's taking on.
That dedication sets up the immediate transition to Kikoru, who already embodies that spirit of unrelenting ambition. She is defined by her single-minded drive to be the strongest.
The absolute strongest.
So naturally, when Division 3 is compromised, she heads straight for the top. She demands placement in the heart of human capability.
And this transition isn't just about moving recruits around a map. It's a strategic move. It's about how the Defense Force rebuilds its offensive strength, leveraging its youngest and most promising talent.
Well, a pillar of military virtue.
And you are primed for a major disappointment.
A huge one.
She first meets Vice Captain Iharu. Now, Iharu is exactly what you would expect. Massive, scarred, imposing, a veteran who confirms her temporary assignment. He represents the steel and professionalism of the elite.
He's the poster boy for Division 1.
He is. But then comes the immediate, jarring, and frankly hilarious contrast of Captain Jen.
This is a classic shattered expectations moment. It completely redefines what strongest even means in this context.
Because Jen is found sitting in a literal pile of trash in his office, completely surrounded by empty food containers, discarded clothing, debris. He is engrossed in playing video games.
A rank match, specifically.
A rank match he almost won. And this visual dissonance is so important. How can the strongest man of the Defense Force be such a monumental mess?
It speaks to a deep-seated personality issue, right? A willful immaturity, a complete contempt for military decorum.
And Iharu, the professional, is visibly enraged. He has to resort to physically abusing Jen. We see him kicking him, dragging him by the ear, just to force him to acknowledge the new recruit and act professional.
I have to question the command structure here. Is the Defense Force so desperate for raw, unmatched power that they tolerate this massive liability? Someone who can't even maintain a clean office or follow basic rules.
Well, Jen's response to Iharu's explosive anger over the mess is free to choose whether or not to follow it.
He's not being rebellious in a typical way, then. He's just prioritizing his own autonomy.
Exactly. His comfort above all external expectations. When Iharu explodes that this is the division captain's office, Jen simply deflects. He says, "If you're so annoyed that my room is messy, why don't you clean it yourself?"
Which Iharu promptly does. He brings in 3 soldiers to clean up, while Jen throws a tantrum about his shattered Gundam statue.
And Kikoru is just left completely frozen. She's thinking that she had finally met someone more childish and disruptive than
Right.
Kafka.
The pillar of the Defense Force, surrounded by junk and arguing about video game ranking. The psychological hurdle for her, A person defined by discipline and respect must have been immense.
She's forced to confront the idea that discipline and respect might be secondary to a higher form of ability. The real question this scene poses is, what is the source of his power if his discipline is non-existent?
And the answer is pure, unadulterated, raw force.
That's
Despite the juvenile initial presentation, Jen immediately shifts from child to apex predator the moment an alarm sounds for a giant kaiju attacking the port. The atmosphere just instantly changes.
And Jin uses this rapid deployment as a terrifying demonstration for Kikoru. They're flying toward the port, and before the aircraft even lands, Jin immediately jumps out.
Just leaps out.
Yeah, revealing his high energy level and a massive specialized weapon. The kaiju they're facing is heavily armored. It's blocking all conventional attacks from the other Division 1 soldiers, who are already using extreme power levels.
But Jen is on a completely different level. Explosion. It obliterates the monster instantly. Completely.
And then he lands on the weapon handle, perfectly composed, seemingly energized by the disruption.
His follow-up instruction to Kikoru is brutal and direct. It's his entire command philosophy in a nutshell.
He tells her the only thing he values is overwhelming power. He dismisses respect, effort, dignity, and a good attitude as completely worthless to him.
He is the strongest because he is the strongest, and he demands the same pure, unchecked, overwhelming force from those around him. It is a philosophy that justifies any means necessary, including his own immaturity, as long as the results are absolute.
Let's talk about the technical standard he sets, because this is crucial. We learn that Division 1 standard is incredibly high. Even the weakest soldier in Division 1 must be able to use at least 40% of their battle suit's power.
And what does that 40% really signify for the listener?
Well, to put that 40% into perspective, we know that most new recruits, even really talented ones, struggle to maintain a sustained 10% efficiency.
So 40% is just. It's a world apart.
It is. Sustaining 40% isn't just about firepower. It's a continuous, life-shortening physical strain. It means every fiber of the soldier's body is pushed to the breaking point. It requires immense conditioning and, frankly, a constant disregard for personal well-being.
And that's the baseline just for entry into Division 1, which makes Jen, who can hit 98%, a force multiplier that seems almost mythological.
It does.
So if we connect this back to the bigger picture, Jen embodies pure, almost reckless force. This display immediately sets the stage for the kind of power he will demand from Kafka, a living kaiju weapon whose very existence defies all military rules.
He doesn't want a soldier.
No, he wants an overwhelming weapon, and he doesn't care about the consequences as long as that weapon serves its purpose.
5 days after his capture, Kafka is brought before Commander Isao Shinomiya, the Director General of the Defense Force. Jen is also present.
The tension in that room must have been enormous, a clash between the formal structure and this chaotic reality.
And Isao, who is Kikoru's father and the bedrock of the entire power, but because he views Kafka purely as a hazard, a potential weapon to be utilized under controlled, probably separate circumstances, not as a teammate in his division.
And he argues, true to form, that his own existence is enough to ensure Division 1 remains the strongest.
This is where Izao's counter-argument provides the essential context for the entire conflict. He explains why Jen's individual strength is no longer enough.
What's the reasoning?
He details the nature of the evolving threat, primarily Kaiju No, which they now know can take human form, a profound danger to internal security and trust, and that it controls vast networks of super kaiju.
That's the real strategic shift, isn't it? The monster isn't just big, it's intelligent, coordinated, and operating with a military-level strategy.
Exactly. This isn't brute force versus discipline anymore. It's evolution versus adaptation.
A whole new game.
It is. Isao notes that while humanity has evolved its defenses, this progress has been met by unknown, radical development methods from the kaiju side. They're evolving in ways that contradict all human expectations and countermeasures.
He issues a stark warning.
He does. He says the past disasters suffered by humanity were caused by arrogance, the institutional belief that their current strength was sufficient. Humanity must continue to evolve, just as the kaiju do, even if that evolution is risky, or they will be wiped out.
And Kafka represents that radical, necessary, and morally gray evolution.
He's the embodiment of it.
So the strategic gamble was that necessity outweighs discipline and protocol. This leads to the ultimate high-stakes pact.
It does. Jen warns Kafka that his ultimate goal is to turn Kaiju 8 into nothing more than a functional weapon, a numbered kaiju tool.
He makes a terrifying promise, a pact of mutual execution.
Yeah, he says the moment Kafka loses control or deviates from being a weapon, Jen will personally terminate him without hesitation.
And Kafka accepts.
He accepts these irreducible terms, motivated by two powerful forces: his promise to Mina that he will fulfill his duty, and his deep internal need to survive long enough to prove his worth.
So it's an alliance built entirely on mutual...
Unexpected kaiju attack in Tokyo.
The sources describe a sudden, immense sinkhole opening up, revealing an unprecedented number of ant-like kaiju. These monsters, which rarely surface, appear in numbers never before seen.
It's a clear sign of the scale of Kaiju 9's mobilization.
Jen immediately springs into action, and he shows a surprisingly noble side here.
He does. He rushes to save two children caught near the fighting, using his immense power to shield them. But then, crucially, he tells the young boy to immediately call his mother and tell her Jen is cool and charismatic 10 times.
It's that blending of chaotic ego and immediate heroism again. It really speaks to his contradictions.
But even while he's saving lives, he's analytically noting that the kaiju behavior is wrong. Too many of them, acting too differently, showing synchronized movement.
So he quickly suspects a hidden manipulator is directing the swarm.
Right. A complex strategic operation that confirms Kaiju 9 is not just strong, but a tactical genius utilizing its ability to control other monsters.
And the combat immediately showcases the success of Isao's focus on the next generation, particularly
Force harder than Captain Mina's attacks.
she just tears into these massive ant kaiju, easily dispatching two large ones. She slices cleanly through one, showing not just raw strength, but surgical precision.
The other soldiers are just stunned by her sheer output. Iharu, the hardened vice captain, is shocked. He notes that Kikoru is already stronger than Jen himself was in his first year of service.
Which is an incredible metric.
It is. Yet, Kikoru, true to her relentless ambition, isn't satisfied. She feels she's to be faster, more efficient. Her rapid, immediate ascension shows that the human side of the Defense Force is evolving rapidly, driven by ambition and trauma.
But here's where the rubber meets the road, because Kafka finally gets his chance to prove he's an asset, and his internal trauma just completely overrides his external strength.
He holds back.
But the psychological block is too strong.
The transformation fails completely. He can't sustain the power, and he's easily pinned by a regular monster, which spits acid that nearly burns. Immediately shoots Kafka in the shoulder.
And it states clearly that it was waiting for Kaiju 8's power to surface.
Yeah, confirming the strategic objective was to lure, track, and engage.
And the threat escalates exponentially. A second Kaiju 9 appears on a large ant monster.
Which confirms the enemy can replicate or split itself. It suggests Kaiju 9 is left
Danger. They're forced into defensive maneuvers by a layered enemy that just refuses to stay dead.
Kikoru immediately intervenes. She slices the Kaiju 9 copy with a massive, decisive attack, showing her sheer skill.
But it regenerates instantly.
Instantly. And she realizes the brutal truth. They cannot win this engagement without Kafka transforming fully. But he's still frozen hallucinating the grotesque outcome of him killing her and everyone else.
This is a critical psychological moment. Kikoru, injured and facing a regenerating enemy, realizes she cannot win alone.
She and her squad, the elite of the Defense Force, now have to fight defensively. They're risking their lives to maneuver and buy time for a person who, if he's successful, might become the very thing they are sworn to destroy.
That commitment to protect a potential threat because he holds the key to victory is just profoundly dangerous.
And her desperation is rooted in this profound personal history and determination, which we see in a powerful flashback.
Her dedication isn't just to the uniform, it's a personal oath.
It is. We see a flashback to her childhood during a major kaiju attack. Her mother, Hikari, was Division II captain, nicknamed Valkyrie.
And she was famed for her strength, derived from the powerful Kaiju No. 4 weapon.
Right, and Kikoru, the one in her mother's place. The weight of this legacy and the use of numbered weapons in her family history, it all informs her sacrifice in this moment.
The pressure mounts to an unbearable degree. Kaiju 9 hits Kikoru with a devastating attack, shattering her axe and sending her flying.
She drags herself back up, stands directly in front of the frozen Kafka, and delivers the ultimate challenge. She demands he transform.
Screaming at him.
Screaming that he must not underestimate the Defense Force and demanding that he trust in them.
That moment crystallizes the strategic shift. Kafka resolves his internal conflict, not by mastering his fear, but by shifting the focus of his trust.
He realizes he may not trust himself or his own power, but he trusts his friends 100%. That external absolute trust is the catalyst that allows him to let go of the paralyzing fear.
And achieve a powerful, controlled, full transformation.
The combat that follows shows an immediate, rapid evolution in his fighting style. He understands that sheer power needs guidance. Inspired specifically by Gen's wild, all-or-nothing fighting style, Kafka realizes he needs to control his output better.
So he integrates a partial transformation. He uses just one powerful transforming arm to disappear in a flash and deliver a single, devastating, super-powered punch.
That focused attack pulverizes Kaiju 9's immediate host body, exposing its core or its gem. He managed to internalize Gen's philosophy of overwhelming power, apply it in a sudden, unpredictable way, and neutralize the immediate threat.
The key word there is immediate. The initial threat is neutralized, but Kaiju 9's real strategic plan is about to be revealed, showing that the engagement with Kafka was merely a calculated distraction.
A way to draw resources away from the true target.
Exactly. Just as the city battle concludes, the ultimate strategic goal is revealed. We learn that the Kaiju 9 copies were decoys. The primary version infiltrates the highly secure monitoring center where Commander Isao Shinomiya is located.
The target was never the soldiers on the ground. It was the pillar of the defense force.
Isao immediately recognizes the danger. He orders the evacuation of scientists, including his aide Crusoe, and prepares to fight alone.
This is where we learn the full depth of his commitment and his strength. His weapon is revealed to be the powerful Kaiju No 2 weapon, the second oldest numbered weapon in the Defense Force arsenal.
And this weapon is fundamentally different from Gen's raw kinetic output, isn't it?
Completely. The fight between Isao and Kaiju 9 is devastating, fueled by immense electromagnetic power, giving Isao this massive, crackling, lightning aura. This is the difference between Kaiju 1, Gen's weapon, which is brute force, and Kaiju 2, which allows for immense controlled energy output.
But using the Kaiju 2 weapon at this level comes with a terrible cost, which Isao accepts willingly.
Yeah, we learn that human bodies cannot sustain such a high energy release. It is literally shortening his lifespan with every move he makes. He's risking permanent, catastrophic physical failure just to hold the line.
Isao is momentarily overpowered, yet he is undeniably strong. Kaiju 9 notes that Izao's counterattack actually cracked its regenerative armor, confirming the immense strength of the aged commander.
But Kaiju 9 is continually evolving, even during the fight, adapting its form to Izao's electromagnetic attacks.
Isao knows he's physically past his prime.
He does. He recalls his wife's sacrifice against Kaiju 6, a foundational trauma for both him and Kikoru, and decides his final absolute contribution must be to eliminate this threat, to secure a future for the new generation.
Ignoring Crusoe's frantic pleas to retreat and wait for reinforcements, Isao makes the ultimate, irreversible commitment.
He shifts all suit energy from defense to a final, devastating electromagnetic laser attack. He knows this maneuver will destroy his suit, and likely him, but it is the only way to deliver the necessary killing blow.
The blast is cataclysmic. It vaporizes Kaiju 9's body, revealing its small, shielded core.
However, Kaiju 9, having anticipated the overwhelming power of the Kaiju 2 weapon, immediately shields its core, turning its remaining mass into a turtle-like defense shell.
So Isao pours more energy into a final beam, wiping out the surrounding area, but his body fails completely. The sheer strain of the energy release causes his suit to break down, and he loses consciousness.
It was a victory achieved at the deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, a pretty dense stack of material. We have tactical reports, confidential strategy notes, and some really intense personal accounts.
And it all centers on one thing, the war against Kaiju No 9.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This isn't just about big monsters anymore.
Yeah.
The sources we have paint a picture of total war, an escalating conflict against an enemy that is thinking, planning, and adapting.
It's a fundamental shift. We're talking about an enemy that's moved way beyond just brute force. It's showing alarming strategic intelligence and even the ability to engineer new threats from scratch.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We need to really pull apart the key strategic shifts that the Defense Force is being forced to make. We're going to track the evidence for the enemy's intelligence, which is just shocking.
And maybe most critically, we have to look at the sheer desperation of the human response. We're talking about some high-stakes gambles here.
Including the absolutely profound risk of weaponizing one of their own conscious, sentient enemies.
Yeah, that's a huge one. It's a massive paradigm shift. The sources show that humanity itself is being researched by the kaiju. It's not the other way around anymore.
Wow.
And to really get a handle on how big of a threat that is, I think we have to start by setting a baseline. We need to talk about the absolute peak of human strength.
And that means we have to talk about Mina Ashiro.
The undisputed ace of the Defense Force.
Okay, let's start there. Let's unpack Mina, because she really represents what human operational capability looks like when, everything goes right.
Right, and the sources open with a perfect example of this. A detailed account of a battle where she, of precision heavy artillery, the kind of weapon system the Defense Force has been trying to perfect for decades, and the scale of her power is it's almost unimaginable.
The sources mentioned that the targets were geographically dispersed, right? She wasn't just shooting at things in front of her.
Not at all, and that's what makes Shinomi's reaction so telling. She's confused. She's asking, how is Mina taking out kaiju from a completely different city?
That just highlights the sheer range and, I guess, the penetrative force she's commanding.
It does, and the weapon itself is fascinating. The technical details are really something.
It's not just a big gun. It's a customized cannon disguised as a tank, right? Classified as heavy artillery.
And she is the only person who can effectively use it. That's the key.
So what are the limits on a weapon system like that?
Well, the sources are very specific. This weapon is designed for targets that regular anti-kaiju weapons can't even scratch. The impact from a single shot is just devastating.
1 bullet per kaiju.
1 bullet. But the reaction from the kaiju's body is violent. It specifically says it inflates before it just explodes. The stress on the system, on the cannon itself, was so immense that it was operating at the absolute limit of its design capacity.
So she's pushing the hardware to its breaking point.
Yeah.
But, and I think this is the crucial distinction the sources make, she isn't straining herself.
Exactly. That's the difference between her and everyone else. We get this assessment from Kiji, the veteran analyst from the command center.
And what's his take?
He says Mina is, without question, globally unrivaled in anti-giant kaiju combat, even above someone as celebrated as Gino. Biological material required for the shot. If you tried to fire those weapons without that energy,
what happens?
The ammunition fails. It wouldn't achieve the range or the penetration or the destructive power. The volatile biological fuel will just destabilize.
So anyone else would basically fizzle out. Or worse.
Or worse. Mina is uniquely gifted. She has the internal energy to channel all that volatile material into usable high-grade ordnance without, melting down her own system. She stresses the cannon's design limits, not her own physical capacity.
It paints this picture of a force that is so specialized, so efficient, that it created a kind of false sense of security for the entire Defense Force.
Absolutely. They were successfully clearing area after area. Battles were tipping in their favor so easily because Mina was basically this untouchable, long-range deterrent.
A get-out-of-jail-free card.
In a way, yeah. And that feeling of success, it permeated the ranks. The sources mention this moment after the mission concludes where Kafka just gets caught up in it.
Right, he's celebrating how easy the victory was.
He's just so relieved and enthusiastic, he completely forgets he's supposed to be maintaining his cover as just some ordinary recruit.
Yeah.
And this collective sigh of relief, it was entirely premature.
Which brings us to the pivot. The moment all of that devastating efficiency was recognized, understood, and then exploited by the enemy.
The trap is sprung.
So the Defense Force is celebrating a tactical win, but the leadership, they feel this unsettling quiet.
Yeah, Gino, Kikoru, the high-level command guys, they all felt something was off.
Why, though? Why did these easy victories, clearing out these vital installations, why did that feel like a trap?
Well, the data starts to shift our focus to the intelligence of Kaiju number 9. The officers realized the Kaiju that were attacking these strategic spots, they weren't using their full effort.
They were holding back.
Exactly. The targets were important, sure, but the fighting wasn't decisive. And that suggested the Kaiju weren't really after the infrastructure at all. They were after something else.
The sources use this really chilling metaphor. They frame number 9's perspective as a chessboard.
It saw the initial attacks as nothing more than a diversion.
A way to pull the key human personnel into specific, predetermined locations.
Right, and it gets worse. No. 9 casually notes the sudden non-appearance of Kaiju number 8. Even this huge variable, Kafka, was considered irrelevant to the bigger plan. The game wasn't about the pawns or the castles.
It was about the kings and queens.
And then the true attack, the second wave, proves it. The sources describe it with this palpable tension. The ground shatters, water explodes.
And 5 new, high-level numbered kaiju appear almost instantly.
The timing is so critical here. This wasn't a gradual escalation. It was a sudden, coordinated strike designed to maximize chaos and just completely minimize the human response time.
And these new threats, Kaiju now 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, they're all rated level 9 or above.
Yeah, and to give you some context on that, a single level 9 Kaiju requires, at a minimum, 2 highly trained unit captains or an entire fully armed battalion to engage with any hope of success.
So 5 of them appearing at once.
It completely overwhelmed the combined combat capacity of the 1st and 3rd divisions, instantly.
Which confirms the big strategic reveal. No. 9's real goal was never the facilities. It was the targeted elimination of the core leadership.
And Gino realizes this, but way too late. 9 had intentionally separated them, focused on them, and created kaiju specifically designed to hunt specific individuals.
The customization of that threat is what's really terrifying. Yeah, Kaiju No 15 immediately goes for Kikoru.
Right. The sources note that it actually calls Kikoru by her name.
By her name?
By name. Then it transforms into this terrifying, massive, monstrous form and just starts laughing maniacally. That immediate personalized focus suggests advanced intelligence gathering, surveillance, maybe even Emory research.
This is the ultimate proof, then. Humanity is being studied.
It is, and no. 15's first attack is devastatingly efficient. It uses a high-energy beam. We're not sure if it's from its mouth or eyes, but it instantly vaporizes 6 nearby soldiers.
They couldn't even react.
Not even a chance. The shock value is immense. It confirms just how severe this new generation of threat really is.
Kiji's assessment for the command center is bleak at this point.
It is. He emphasizes that even a veteran officer like Gino, let alone a rookie like Kikoru, cannot face a numbered kaiju alone. It's just not possible.
And what really hammers it home is the lack of any reserve forces.
It's an all-or-nothing moment. The initial diversionary attacks were so effective at drawing out and occupying all the available personnel that when these high-level threats appeared, there was no backup.
No cavalry.
No cavalry, no strategic reserve left to deploy. They were completely on their own.
Which sets the stage for these desperate one-on-one duels.
Right. The leadership is separated, they're facing these tailored threats, and the story immediately zooms in on Kikoru.
And despite being totally isolated, she takes command. She orders her remaining unit to secure the area, evacuate civilians. That's incredible leadership under that kind of pressure.
It absolutely is. And it leads to this astonishing display of raw potential. In this moment of pure peril, Kikoru hits an 84% power output.
And we need to pause there. We need to put 84% in context.
We do. For an average elite officer, 50% is considered a peak stable release of power. Hitting 84%, that's a level suitable for a division captain. That's something that takes years of conditioning and control to achieve.
So this isn't just a high score. It's a near suicidal level of exertion for a rookie. The monitoring center, Kurisu is just stunned.
At Kiji, the veteran who has seen generations of talent coming and go, he explicitly calls her the strongest first-year recruit in the history of the Defense Force.
Stronger than legends.
He says her raw potential surpasses Saro, Hikari, even Gino. But, and this is the key, potential is completely irrelevant when you're facing a perfectly tailored sentient weapon.
And now 15 proves to be far superior. It just easily dodges her fiercest attacks.
Counters with near-fatal speed. Wounds her face. She's forced to confront the reality that she's fighting completely alone for the very first time, and the stakes are absolutely fatal.
This is where the theory ends and reality kicks in. She's always been the prodigy, protected by the system.
And now that system is shattered. She's face to face with an enemy that knows her name, that anticipates her every move. Her 84% output is bleeding her dry, and she still can't even touch it.
And it's not just her. The other commanders are facing their own customized nightmares. Gino, the master strategist.
The one who relies on his eye ability to foresee enemy movement.
He's confronted by Kaiju No. 11, which uses these unpredictable water-based attacks that completely defy his predictive power.
This is a major strategic blow. Gino's ability is the human equivalent of real-time tactical modeling. For No. 11 to neutralize that with environmental untrackable attacks, it shows how incredibly fast No. 9 is learning.
It's not just learning how Gino fights.
No, it knows how Gino thinks. And it engineered a counter specifically for that cognitive process. He takes wounds, which confirms the kaiju countermeasure is working perfectly.
It's even more direct with Soichiro's fight. He's up against Kaiju No. 12, which is described as a close combat specialist.
Designed explicitly to counter Soichiro's personal fighting style, the kaiju are studying them, adapting, and developing countermeasures tailored to individual leaders.
The source material really drives home this point, that the long history of humanity studying and overcoming its enemies, diseases, predators, natural disasters, has been chillingly reversed.
Completely. Humanity is now the subject of highly sophisticated real-time research, and No. 9 is weaponizing those findings faster than the Defense Force can even process the data coming in.
We see the psychological toll of that in Shinomi's fight. She's up against Kaiju No. 13, and it's stronger than anything she's ever faced.
She knows she's outmatched, she's completely overwhelmed, but in a moment that's defined by her pride as a captain and her loyalty to the mission, she launches what she knows is a suicidal attack.
An ice grenade attack.
Right. And her goal isn't even victory. It's to buy time. To gather crucial intel on No. 13's resilience for Gino, she is literally trading her life for a piece of data.
But No. 13 is too fast, too smart. It appears behind her instantly.
And she completes the attack, delivers a massive blow that shatters the bridge she's on, incapacitates her, and it's moments away from dealing the fatal strike.
And that is the breaking point for the observer, for Kafka.
This is the first critical moment where that unquantifiable human element, the unpredictable courage that breaks all the rules, intervenes in No. 9's carefully laid plan.
Kafka is watching the evacuation, and he just defies his orders.
He completely ignores them. He realizes he cannot and will not just stand by and watch his comrade die. He doesn't care about the consequences for his identity.
He transforms. But not before he says something to Shinomi.
A deeply human reassurance. He apologizes for disobeying orders, but then he promises her he will not lose. He transforms instantly into Kaiju No. 8.
It communicates directly to command. Kaiju No. 8 is joining the battle.
And this changes everything for Kaiju No. 9, who is observing all this from above. Namarin is this master strategist building perfect counters, but Kafka is a living anomaly. An unquantifiable, unpredictable variable driven by pure human emotion and loyalty.
That one act of disobedience, fueled by that bond, it forces the Defense Force to deal with a new, massive power source.
But it also forces No. 9 to recalculate the entire battlefield. The rules have just been broken, and desperation has yielded a massive, terrifying new asset.
So Kafka's intervention, it changes the immediate tactical situation on the ground. But the bigger strategic problem still remains.
Right. No, 9's ability to create, coordinate, and accelerate new high-level kaiju. That systemic threat is still there.
And that threat is what drives the Defense Force toward their most controversial and maybe their most destructive strategic shift yet.
The weaponization of Kaiju No 10.
This move is a direct result of that vacuum of intelligence. They just don't know what they're up against.
And no, 10 is captive. It has a core injury, but the scientists are terrified of its regeneration capabilities. Its hardness level is 5.5.
Okay, what does a hardness level of 5.5 in a captive, injured state actually tell us? What kind of containment does that require?
Well, hardness level is basically a measure of durability, resistance to conventional weapons. For comparison, most standard kaiju are in the 1 to 2 range.
So 5.5 is significant.
Very significant. Even injured, it means no. 10's core requires specialized, high-grade kinetic barriers and constant monitoring. Any attempt at, say, conventional interrogation would likely result in a catastrophic containment breach.
So they can't even get information out of it safely.
That's the problem. The fact that the scientists are fearful of its renewal capabilities shows they think even its basic biological processes might restart and become a major threat if they're not careful.
And 10 uses this as leverage. It refuses to talk.
Unless it can meet and fight its previous opponent again.
Like in that Moody.
Yeah.
It yields the most unsettling piece of intelligence they've gotten so far.
It's a total game changer. No. 10 shocks the Defense Force by revealing that Kaiju number 9 created it.
Created it.
This is the first documented case of a numbered kaiju manufacturing another. And to make it worse, number 10 refers to itself as just an initial incomplete model.
That finding immediately puts number 9's threat into a whole new context. It shifts from being just an evolutionary threat, a monster that gets stronger,
to an engineered threat. A monster that can be reproduced, mass-produced even.
Absolutely. This means the Defense Force isn't just fighting one single powerful anomaly anymore. They're fighting a blueprint.
It makes all their traditional strategic defense measures obsolete. If number 9 can produce level 5.5 kaiju as initial models, the speed at which the global threat will accelerate it's exponential.
Containment and defense are no longer viable options.
Only direct, preemptive elimination of number 9 will work.
So, given this new context, number 10 makes a very risky proposal. It demands that the Defense Force turn it into a weapon.
And it specifically demands that Soichiro be the wielder. Essentially, it's demanding control of Soichiro's body.
This pushes the whole situation beyond military strategy and into, ethical and psychological warfare.
For sure. The source material details this profound internal debate between Konogi, a leading strategist, and Soichiro. And the main point of conflict is this. Unlike previous kaiju weapons, which were made from dead foes.
Just pieces of biological machinery.
Right. Now, the 10's consciousness is fully intact. The danger of betrayal, of a body takeover, it's immense.
And a huge ethical leap for them to take. The Defense Force has a history of using enemy biology, but this is the first time they're integrating a self-aware, sentient enemy that's capable of deceit.
The debate was fierce, but the sources justify Soichiro's choice by constantly emphasizing the immediate existential threat and the critical lack of intelligence.
They have no other way to get inside No Mind's head.
Exactly. Soichiro confirms they have no other reliable source of internal knowledge on Nopa 9's creation process, its accelerated strength curve. Nothing. So he embraces what the sources call a Machiavellian principle.
The end justifies the means.
When faced with an existential threat, yes. And this decision isn't taken lightly. You can feel the agonizing burden of command in the text.
And Mina's endorsement is key here, isn't it?
Yeah.
As the most powerful figure, her agreement to back Soichiro's decision. It gives him the political and institutional cover he needs.
It shields him from the immediate ethical backlash that would follow a move this radical. It solidifies the strategic consensus at the highest level. The risk of potential betrayal from number 10 is less than an ultimatum.
He tells number 10 flat out that he will be using number 10, not the other way around.
That assertion of human will over a conscious, volatile biological weapon is the final psychological step. Soichiro is taking ownership of the risk. He's declaring that he will dominate this power, not be consumed by it. And this acceptance of high-risk, morally volatile allies, it just reflects the broader, desperate shift in Defense Force strategy.
They realize they can no longer win conventionally. They have to integrate the enemy's own biology to get the edge they need.
And the necessity of using these radical new weapons is really cemented in the high-level leadership meeting that follows.
But before they even get to the strategy, the sources give us this almost absurd glimpse of human nature under pressure.
Yeah, the meeting immediately dissolves into these petty rivalries between Chino, Mina, Soichiro.
It's incredible. Even on the absolute brink of apocalypse, the sources focus on this moment of human politics.
It highlights the vanity, the history, the rivalry. It's all so ingrained that it persists even when they're facing extinction. Kiji has to step in.
The analyst who is left running the command center, he's just frustrated.
Complaining about the leadership role Soro thrust upon him. It's a moment of, necessary comic relief. It underscores the chaotic humanity of these heroes.
But the seriousness returns pretty quickly when Soichiro provides the confirmed intelligence.
Right. Number 9 created number 10. And crucially, the average strength of emerging kaiju has increased from level 2 to level 4. This validates Number 10's claim that Nola 9 is accelerating its production of stronger, faster monsters.
The numbers are terrifying.
They are. The Defense Force's current operational capacity can only handle 5 hyper kaiju at the same time. And that capacity drops sharply